Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Thinnest Veil. My name is Dr. Melissa Bird, and I am pleased to be joined today by a woman who um, the divine threw me together with on the good old Instagrams. Anytime I ever want to bag on social media, I keep thinking I have met the most beautiful and remarkable and amazing human beings through that. And so, while I don't love the algorithm, sometimes I love how the universe just goes, here, have a gift. Here, have a person. So, darling, welcome to the thinnest veil. I would love it if you would introduce yourself to my audience and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, thanks. So I go by the name Essence nowadays, doctor. I love that you introduce yourself as doctor. I'm like, yeah, she that.
I worked for that.
I and Melanie Dewberry is my birth name, and I'm so happy to be here with you again, especially as you run for Congress. We need you, baby doll. We just do. We need your strength and the way you see the world through the pure audacity and power of love. And so, an introduction about me, I've been in the business of spirituality and consciousness for about 25 years. I started off as a coach in the 90s and just fell in love with the idea and the reality that we could just transform. And then, if we're really at it, we could actually evolve into absolute love and just surrender there.
Oh, that's
Thing
the life.
Yeah, a little work to stay there. Yeah, sometimes we go and come back, but
Yeah.
love is
Yeah.
attractive.
I think that's the joy of humaning, though, is like realizing that this experience of being a human, like we are humans being, right? And so as we're
Yeah.
like moving through this process of humaning, allowing for that flow in and out of love because of all of the external forces that get placed on us,
Mhm.
all of the things we think we should be doing, the shitty shoulds,
Mm,
and the things that get piled on us externally. I mean, of course we flow out of love because that is the process of being a human. And when you and I were talking a little bit earlier, we were talking about um this idea of like, how do we talk about soul and love and God and this
mm,
this universal idea of connection, especially in times like these.
yeah. Oof. Um, that is such a good starter. Not just a starter. How do we connect in love? Sorry, I have dogs in the background if anybody can hear them.
That's okay.
I think I could only I can only talk about what I do. First I have to be aware that I've popped out of it.
Mm,
What's running my motor today, this moment, this second? Am I disappointed? Am I angry? Am I distant? What's actually so I have to like, oh, um, and then for each person it will be different. And I try to stay in a place of when I see myself there in one of those discord places of not making myself too wrong for it, because then, we're still in the anger phase and beating ourselves up isn't awareness. But in the awareness, just to do my best to go, what can I what can I love in this moment? Is it this chocolate bar? Is it that is it this chocolate woman? Is it the beautiful sky? Is it that I'm here? That
mm,
breath is within me? Is it that I
mm.
can call a friend and they'll hold me? What do you do, doctor?
I honestly, um I think about how miraculous it is that I don't have to tell my heart to beat, it just does.
Mhm.
I don't have to tell my blood to flow, it just does.
I love that.
And so when I am thinking about like I love that you said beating ourselves up is an awareness. For me, like it's I mean, I'm full of righteous fury. Like, there are things that really, really make me angry. The way we treat each other pisses me off to no end. But one of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
things that oh, there's Mary peeking out. One of the things, this is my wall of Marys behind me.
I love it.
But what happens when, and I keep thinking, I've actually written about this a lot, like on my Substack and stuff, like, isn't it incredible that we don't have to tell ourselves to breathe? We just breathe. I mean, sometimes we hold our breath and we have to go, girl, take a deep breath. But like, isn't it bananas that this body, like, there are billions of neurons firing inside this skull
Yeah,
second of every day, and I
yeah.
don't have to tell them to do that.
That is lovely. That it's just working on its own behalf for us,
Yeah, and
you
sometimes
know?
it's down, and sometimes it's jacked up, and sometimes it hurts, and sometimes you can't remember shit. But like, and I think that like there's something so remarkable about that. Like that idea of connecting to our bodies in a way that we realize we don't actually have to tell it what to do.
Mm.
Because that's like that's how we were built.
Wow, I want that for our hearts.
Mm. Say more about that.
Well, I think our minds, so the heart is the pumping heart, but I mean the love of the heart. I mean, that's where we place it. It's everywhere, right? Um, but I feel like I don't know about other people, but sometimes with myself, my mind is the part that's, kind of not running me, but showing me where to go. And sometimes I'm absent to it. And then whose mind is actually speaking and where did my love go? Where did, where and why is impatience showing up just because I have to wait?
Mm.
Um, or because someone has said something, you know, where's my where am I not actually allowing love to go? That doesn't have to mean anything unless you say it does. Or is there something that needs to be said by you? That
Well,
and how you say it. Yes, go ahead.
and like you say, why is impatience showing up just because I had to wait? I love waiting.
Do you?
Yes.
Tell
I
me.
did not used to. Like patience is my ever-loving lesson in this lifetime, but I'm getting so much better at it. But like I think about waiting for the sun to rise. Like I wake up when it's dark and it's
Oh,
quiet and nobody's speaking,
yeah, that's kind of sacred right there.
especially in a household full of humans, right? Like teenagers.
Yeah.
But like I wait for the sun to come up. I like and I do it very quietly.
Mm.
Um, I've noticed, and this is the question I have for you. How have you noticed how often so I have noticed that people constantly apologize for not texting me back quick enough when I send a text message with a question. And
Mm.
for me, I'm just asking the question. I don't care when the answer comes. I will say to someone, I need to know this in the next 10 minutes if it's like really important. But don't you feel like as we are aging and moving through this chaotic whatever the fuck is happening on the planet right now, um, that
Use the F word, y'all. I love it.
that that we don't really need answers that fast? Like we don't need
Mhm.
to know that quick.
Yeah. No, that's really eloquent and beautiful and thoughtful. And I'm just sitting with that because I mean, we all know, we all know that the electronic situation and all of that, and I love the electronics and that, and getting packages in 24 hours or less on your door. That it is still something quietly
Mhm,
within us,
mhm,
um, and can be easily kind of braided
mm,
into our expectations of the world. And so, in that aspect, patience gets lost, right? And I'd love to hear, since you're like conquering impatience into patience, what you experience through patience. The only thing I can feel in this moment, I shouldn't say the only thing, but the thing I'm feeling in this moment is that a quietude
mm,
rather than the noise that envelops me. around impatience. And then of course engages with whatever it needs to within my body, anger or resentment, or I'm just, whining or whatever. How did you get there?
I mean, I think being around children has helped. I mean, I started my career as a preschool teacher, so I've always been surrounded by children. I've been a nanny, I have these little humans who are now big. I mean, my son is 15 and 6'3" now, but he's not a little human anymore, but I still see him as,
Yeah,
tiny baby. But I think some of it is realizing there's two things, and I think this goes back to something you and I've talked about before about like connecting to the land. Like we were talking about that a little bit earlier. Like human, especially young humans, are the every day is new. They've
yeah,
never lived the same day over again, kind of like we do as adults. Like I know I get up and check my calendar every day because I have things on my calendar every day. Kids don't do that. They get up and
mhm.
they go, "Oh, I'm gonna wear this, and maybe I'll practice piano, maybe I won't, and maybe I'll make out with my boyfriend, and maybe I won't. Like maybe I'll do my homework, and maybe I won't." This is what we grapple with in our lives, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like so, like every day is new. It's
yeah,
why 4-year-olds bring me so much joy because they wake up in the morning and they go, why, why, why? And parents get so irritated about it, but I think that's magic. Like I think it's
yeah,
incredible that a little 4-year-old will walk around the world going, why? And there's something about that. So I started to ask myself, why are you being so impatient right now? Like, why do you think this has to happen right now? And this is the thing, and prayer is the second way, right? Like paying attention to little humans, younger humans. Prayer, which my prayers are never answered. I actually have a sign on my wall that says, "Be patient. Your prayers are always answered, but not in the way you thought they would be."
yes. Uh,
Why,
it's a little annoying, right?
Evan? Why? Yeah. Answer the prayer the way I want you to. Like, this is the constant struggle I have with God, is I'm like, dude, yeah. Look it up. Why are you making me go through this again?
Oh,
And the third, I actually have a story about my tobacco plant. So, I grow tobacco for ceremony in my yard. And I
I didn't
received
know
these
that.
tobacco plants for my friend, and I'm very excited about them. And I'm like, can I put them in the ground? And she's like, no, because of the heat. We were having this huge heat wave. So I kept it inside.
Mhm.
And these tobacco plants were like, we hate it in here. What are you doing? We're miserable. And so finally I was like, why are my tobacco plants so sad? And she's like, take them outside. And so I finally took them outside and they started to grow. And I was super excited. I was like, yay. And then she's like, "Did you put them in the ground yet?" And I'm like, "No, they're growing so good in this pot." And she's like, "Put them in the ground." So I put them in the ground. They are the most pathetic, sad tobacco plants I've ever grown in my life. Like I grow tobacco,
Oh,
grow shit. I grow things. Like I look at them, they grow. And these poor little tobacco plants, Essence, are the saddest. Like one of them finally flowered, but it's only like this big. And these are like, tobacco plants are huge.
yeah.
And I'm like, and it's flowers getting ready to be done. So I'm gonna go pick the flower. So I have the seeds from the flower, and things were eating them. Like it was like, and I just looked at that tobacco plant and I thought, you know what? Some years just aren't your years.
Wow. Do you think they need to go back into the pot?
No, I tried that with a couple of them to put them back in the pot, and they were like not having that either. I think that nature really shows us that some years just aren't our years.
Oof. Oh, wow. I feel like I could have that tattooed.
Hmm.
Not even some days, some years are not our years. Dang. That is
Nature
rich.
teaches us that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
How
I mean,
have
I
you seen that?
I grow food too, occasionally. And there's some years, even my neighbor, they were growing a tomato plant and they're like, "Where how's this happening?" And then I'm like, "Well, you must have had a seed." And then, then the plant was starting to die, and I said, "Let me kinda tend to it," and so and we just needed water, really. But no, it's true. It's like I've grown food and then the next year I can't grow it. It's just not coming. And it's like, it's gonna tell me. I can do all the things I need to do, all the labor, put it into the soil, make sure the soil, is properly fertilized, make sure it's properly watered, and
Oh,
they're gonna say, and then I've been surprised. Like I have this little apple tree. I've got the smallest little apples, like that
mhm,
big. And I had one, the first, it took 3 years.
mhm.
3 years to get one tiny little apple. I don't dare eat it. I just pray to it.
You just
You know
look
what I
at it.
mean? I'm like, thank you so much. And now I have five little tiny apples. And that's like been over the last, so it took 3 years for one. I would say another 2 years. So
Mhm.
now I am, and I don't know what to do. I don't think I should pick them. I just want to look at them. But they're like,
Well, and how is that reflected in your own life too? Like you fertilize
right.
things, water things, and then in your own life, are there just some things that you do that you just wanna look at it and go, "Huh."
Yeah. You know, I'm not where you are, but I'm gonna practice now getting there because I'm being honest, it's like, impatience has just run my life for a long time, and part of it, honestly, I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix my hair, I'm just let
Oh,
it be
you're
what it is.
fine.
Um, honestly, a lot of it is like, going to go get a sandwich and being the brown person, the black person, and then them not waiting on me,
Yep.
even though I was the first person here.
Yeah,
And I'm not blaming anybody. Nobody gave me impatience. I took it on,
right.
because I was just like, I'm standing right
You
here.
have
Oh,
fireworks.
wow, how did that happen? I didn't touch anything. God is here.
Oh,
Mary is here. I love Mary. And so that's weird. I don't know if my
that
hand
was
signals did it.
amazing.
Yeah, I was that's like weird. It was
I was
amazing.
like, "Pay attention to what you're saying."
And so I
And
would
you
get
took
like
that impatience on.
I'm learning from you. I really am. I mean, like you could be a car in front of me, or behind me, and you swoop around me, and I'm like, now I'm gonna be competitive. Now we're gonna both drive,
Listen,
and
I
I'm
just
like,
did that yesterday. We had
did
someone
you? I'm
tailgating me
like,
in a school zone, like, on my bumper, and I drive a Camaro, so, like, I don't mess around, and, like, we got out of that school zone, and I went from 20 to 80
yeah,
on
yeah,
a residential street.
yeah. See,
And I was like yelling at the person behind me who I've totally dusted, by the way. I'm like, how do you like me now? And I'm like out of there, right? Like, and I was like, Missy Bird, and I literally said to myself, Missy Bird, what are you doing? And I was like,
Missy.
oh yeah, because
Oh,
my grandma called me Missy. Um,
okay.
I love that too. You can call me Missy too. Anyway, but like I was like, Missy Bird, what are you doing? And I thought you proved nothing to that person except for that you drive a really, really fast sports car. And also, I was literally laughing at myself as since I was like, what are you doing? So I wonder in those moments of impatience if the gift isn't also just to look at ourselves and be like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yes, of course. That's the thing. It's like is is how do I want to say it? That's the thing. It's that what I'm coming up to is like, when did I lose my ability to be aware and not ask myself that exact question?
Mhm,
When did I decide that my being angry was more important, more relevant than everybody else in the universe?
mhm.
And that, my emboldenedness, you know, um, was the way that I could deal with being disrespected or whatever. And it's like, okay, how's that working for you, Melanie? Kind of thing. Essence. I can't remember my name.
It's okay.
Like, how's that really? What's that doing for me? What is
Mhm.
that doing to me? What's that
Well,
doing to everybody else?
and what's that doing? What is that sending out into the world? And you said
Ah,
something to me before I hit record where you said anger gutted by fear.
yeah,
And I think this ties into what you're talking about being a Black woman in the United States of America in 2025.
Here we go.
How how are you noticing that anger gutted by fear playing out in the work that you're doing in the world and the world that you're living in?
Okay, so let me. I'm I'm straightening my outfit. I don't know that I am doing well. Let me just sit with that for a second. So I would say that fear, you know, fear made me angry
Mm,
because I was taught know where every white person is at all times. No, for your own physical safety,
yep.
just know where they are. That stuff's exhausting.
Yeah, I
I
bet.
I'm
Yeah.
64 now, and I still do it. I'm
Mm.
married to somebody who's white. I know where he is all the time, but I still do it. I
Yeah.
still do it. And um, it is unfair to my body.
Mm,
It is unfair to my humanity. It is unfair to the humanity of other people to to consistently be driven by fear because then I don't get to show up. Love gets hindered. It gets a
mm,
seat. Sit down. Fear is taking over. It tries to talk, it tries to come get me again. And I'm like, no, this is, I have a right to be afraid. So now I'm defending fear, right?
mm,
And
mhm,
it doesn't take much. And then, anger starts to boil up because, like, you should get it. This is my reality. And it's like, well, actually, yes and no.
mhm,
Is there danger? Danger's everywhere. You know
mhm,
what? And are you going to live in the contextualization of anger's possibility or in the healing and truth available through love,
mm.
self-love and love of other. And this is something I have to ask myself all day, every day. Like I don't have it nailed down yet.
Yes.
You know, I went to I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a little story.
Sure. Tell me a story.
So I had some neighbors across the street, beautiful, cute little family, and they were moving. They were going to their parents' house so they could rent out this house. And I was like, "Oh, I really like you." And then so the new neighbors came in and they put an American flag up, which was a signal for people of color. I don't think a lot of people know that. My other neighbors did it too, which freaked me out
Mhm,
completely because the last time, or I shouldn't say the last time, the first time that happened, I was a kid in San Francisco and my father had moved into an apartment, a house actually, for us to rent while we found our permanent house. We'd moved from DC and all the neighbors had flags and he had received death threats.
mm,
And the neighborhood decided to sign a petition to have us leave. And the FBI got involved because my father worked for the Pentagon
mhm.
and they found who was making the death threats. But that was so embedded at me at that time. And that was the 70s. This is after
Yep.
Woodstock, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it just never, protect yourself, protect yourself, protect yourself. But that kind, unless you're in a war zone, God bless the people in war zones. I mean that right now, what I just
Oh,
said.
yes. Yes,
God
yes.
bless them. Because when you're in a war zone, you are high in the fear of danger.
Yep.
I'm not in a war zone. Yes, America has its issues. And yes, white supremacy is a threat to livelihood, to not only by work livelihood, I mean, to people's livelihood. But I'll be damned if I let them take love, have them not take love away from me. I'll be damned if I allow myself
Mm,
to put fear in place of love because I want to live in the consistency of something that heals myself and others. And I can
mhm,
get annoyed and I can even get angry, but I can't stay there. I
mhm,
can't stay in anger. I can't be ruled by anger because, if you're ruled by anger, then you live in the castle of anger. If you're ruled by love, then you live in the castle of source, the divine mother.
mm.
And it's not an easy practice for me, honestly, but it's all I have in some way.
I
I
think it's
can't.
all we all have.
Yes. So, and these, I'm watching these people mask taking people away, and the way we're treating, what we're doing is inhumane and unkind, but the people in charge have no access to love. Stephen Miller, well, they have access. The Stephen Millers of the world, and the current president in this country and other countries, as whatever their titles um, are intentionally and purposely being cruel. And the expectation is that I'll fight back with cruelty, but I can't.
Mhm.
I won't.
That
I'll
is
fight back.
that is something that I have really been wrestling with a lot. Um and I love and I have been really encouraging people to be, I mean, I do this in my writing all the time on Substack. Like when we are in the what you called it, the consistency of love, people can't help but be disarmed.
Hmm.
It's impossible to be armored in that consistency. I love that word, consistency of love, because it goes back to the scripture, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? But if we don't love ourselves, how do we love our neighbors?
Girl. Okay, so that's the work. And I mean,
That is the
that's
work.
the work.
And I think what you are tapping into, like what's really resonating with me that you're tapping into, is we may not do this before we leave the planet. Like you and I may not ever really get to the end of this road before we're like, okay, I'm out. See ya, right? Like, and hopefully that doesn't happen for either of us for decades. But like, I'm really wonder if we would cut ourselves some slack personally as humans being, if we realize that probably this is the work of a lifetime.
It's 100% true.
Like
I,
you and I would never have the answer to this.
well,
But I'm sure glad we're here playing with it, right? Like I'm glad
right.
we're here marinating in it and thinking about it and wondering how other people could also play with it instead of having to be so absolute and certain that we have to have the answer. Because I don't think I am beginning to wonder at the age of 51 in a couple weeks if we ever get that answer. And I'm thinking, man, I'm a way cooler, nicer, more delightful human being when I don't have to be certain about
Hmm.
the answers.
Oh, I like that, when I don't have to be certain about the answers.
I'm
Huh.
way more fun.
Yeah. I don't, I'm probably gonna take that and embed that. That's
Yeah.
two things now I get to embed in me. I think the way, in terms of loving myself, and because we're going that conversation, as because I'm older and the road is shorter now, much shorter. I can I can see the end of the tunnel, and I'm like, here it is, essence. You know, right? I mean, our lives could end any. We know that they could end at any time, right? Just but the truth of the matter is, as you get older, you do start going, okay, what matters now? What
Yes.
really, really matters now?
Yep.
And what really, really matters to me is to do my best to not be so hard on myself
Yes.
and not to be so hard on other people. And that's a form of love, self love, and love of other. And if that's as close as I get, job done.
Man, it
Do
is
I?
hard. It is, what is a road of not being hard on other people. That is hardwired in us.
Yeah.
I love that.
The expectations and all that. Um, I just, you know, yeah, I'm just looking at the cliff notes of my behaviors and going, which ones actually don't amplify love to self and other? And, I don't, what I want to do about it is just, I just want to go, I'm just going to take care of you. That's how I've been dealing with it. I mean, sit down on my knee. Let me just mother you. Let me just love you.
Mhm.
And you could say anything to me and you won't be wrong. But I'm going to listen to you, but I don't know always if I'm going to behave you. And sometimes out of character. So the story, if I can continue of I
Yes.
forgot, I kind of
Yeah.
forgot where I was going,
No,
is
it's good.
the new neighbors came in. I, knocked on their door. The husband was there alone. He wasn't alone. He was there with people, and I brought him cookies, and he wouldn't answer the door. So, okay, there, where my head just went, right? Oh my God,
Yeah.
racist. And, I would say hello and they would kind of speak back. And I'm like, okay, it's going to be like that, And so last week, I just went over to her house and I knocked on the door. I said, can I come in for a minute? And she said, sure. I said, if I've been unkind to you or rude or anything, I apologize. And we don't know each other really well, but I just want you to know I'm your neighbor and I'm here for you. And if you need anything, you let me know. And I've been afraid. I've been afraid to engage with you because I thought maybe my something about me didn't suit you. And she goes, you've been nothing but nice to us, Melanie. And I said, okay, I just want us to get along. And she said, I do too. And I said, okay. And so I'm just leaving it at that, and because otherwise the angst is like, why won't they say hello? And they should speak to me. I am all powerful, and it's like wanting something from other people is not super helpful for me. You know
Making
what I mean?
assumptions, like it's literally in the spelling. It makes an ass out of
As
you. And
you and me.
when we make assumptions about other people without understanding, and this is where I think the
Yeah.
algorithm has really screwed us,
Say
is
more.
is that we make assumptions about what people say in 3-second swipes
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
all the time. And
Right.
what I love about that question, what matters now, is it anchors us back into the present moment because, ooh, I just got the full body chills. Now is right now. And what
Right
mattered to
now.
you and me when we jumped on to start chatting an hour ago is not what matters now
Oof.
or later.
See the hot sauce, y'all.
I
Oh my
know,
goodness.
I know. Like,
You
oh, I just
have.
have all the tingles, all the chills. Like, if we can just be present to that one question, what
What
matters
matters now?
now?
I love that. I love your t-shirt. Don't give up.
Oh, don't give up. My don't give up t-shirt. I will tell you a story about this. So, my dear friend Amy, we met 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 or 8 years ago at a women's conference in Portland. And Amy was there as a speaker, and I was there to live tweet the event. And Amy and I were the only ones in this ballroom. And I said hi to her. She said hi to me. We start up a little chatty conversation. She tells me that she's there to talk about this movement she started with these signs called Don't Give Up. And she created this series of Don't Give Up signs that have all these, like, you matter, your mistakes do not define you, all these messages because they had had a lot of young people take their lives in their community. So she created these
Mm.
signs to put them across the street from the high school to remind these young people that they are okay and that they can get help and that they do matter and not to give up. Well, it became this international movement, right? So I get a bunch of signs from the conference. But in the meantime, Amy decides to friend me on Facebook. And the first thing she saw was how much I love Planned Parenthood. And Amy is a very conservative evangelical Christian. And she was like, I don't want to be friends with her. Like, why did you put her in my way, God? Like, no, I don't want to. I know she was lovely, but no, because I friended her right away. Because I think she's delightful. And she said she actually argued with God for like a week
How'd
about
that
whether
go?
or not she should stay, not very well because we're still friends.
Yeah.
About whether or not we should be friends. And what ended up happening is Amy and I about once a month would go to lunch together and talk about things we're not supposed to get along with. Abortion, guns, sex, sex education, LGBTQ stuff, like the whole gamut, right? And what ended up happening is we created an online Facebook group where we started having unscripted conversations once a month about very controversial topics. We read books together. We talked about the Bible. Like we really got deep, and we would have hundreds of people on these live videos, and we would talk about nuance, right? And so in the meantime, I have 7 or 8 of Amy's signs in my front yard at any given time. I'm down to one. I got to get some more again. And I have people dropping notes on our porch saying, I didn't commit suicide because of you today. I quit the job I hated more than anything because I had an abusive boss today. I got divorced. I quit drinking. I like on and on. We were getting all of these notes. I have like 30 or 40 of them from
Oh, we
people.
never know our impact, do we?
That is exactly it. Amy had no idea that when she created 4 plastic lawn signs for in front of the high school in her community, that it would turn into you and I sitting here having a conversation and you complimenting me on my shirt because
Wow.
this I put them in my yard for me. I wanted to pull up to my house every day and get that message that I matter and not to give up. And look what it did. And Amy and I were just talking yesterday about the beauty of having nuanced conversations and not having to be sure and certain about anything, which goes all the way back to the beginning of years of my conversation when I hit record. That's why I'm running for Congress. I'm running for Congress because we have bought into a lie that our politicians have to be professional politicians who are certain about the outcomes of their policies. And they are passing policies whose outcomes are directly affecting our lives and our families.
In
And we
bad,
need
negative
in
ways. Yep.
office, we need people in office who understand not just those impacts, but who understand how to make policy with the consideration of the collective in mind.
Yeah, there is a huge deficit of humanity and supporting the ever evolution and consistency of that humanity. And
And yeah, we're all humans.
we're all humans. And I think, what has happened is that some politicians get so much adoration, even conflict though, but even conflict, that their egos, then they're just trapped. They're just trapped by their own egoic, and they let go of the communities because other people told them that doesn't really matter anyway. What really matters is this, and I don't know. It's very tragic and sad that to know to see what's happening, not just now, but with some consistency, the lack of humanity for people who are suffering, and that they're getting so much, not just payment, like annual pay, but so much access, so that they don't even have access to the suffering. They can't even feel the suffering of their
It's
own
really
constituents.
interesting that you say that because I was in politics for most of my career before I went to get my I got my PhD because I wanted to tell the stories of women's reproductive lives to impact policy because I was in the policy world for 20 years before,
Wow,
25 plus years at this point. Um, but what yeah, I was a lobbyist and all sorts of written bills, passed laws, done all the things before
wow,
20
I didn't know that about you.
before I finished my PhD. So, um, so I know that's why people think it's so weird I'm running for Congress when actually anybody who's knew me before 2017 totally is like, of course you're running for Congress. So it's really funny, like how those stories also happen too.
Yeah.
And it goes back to something you were saying earlier about these assumptions that we make about people, right? Like people don't have any idea I have a policy background because they haven't gone that far back on Google page number 27, right?
Mm, mm,
But I think that they don't have access to the suffering because they've forgotten that they work for the people.
they have. They
And
think they work for the president or themselves
yeah, or
or
the party. They think they work for a party or a leader or themselves. They forget that they work for the people. And that's what I want people to remember through this campaign. Elected officials work for you. You
It
are their boss.
and you know what? I don't know, Melissa, for sure if they forget or they just decide it's irrelevant and this stuff is more this other thing, you
I
know?
honestly believe that there is something that happens where there are not enough people to remind them
Mm.
because people don't talk to their elected officials.
Well, and some of them are now ready to talk and they won't show up to hear
Mhm.
them,
I know.
which is like, ooh,
And I
wow.
think that's what I just I think that's why I love having these conversations on my podcast because it's such a beautiful reminder of just the regular human experience we are having as spiritual beings on this planet. Like we're just muddling through and figuring it out. And sometimes we never figure out. But if we can keep playing like this and we can keep asking what matters now and we can keep thinking about like how anger and fear is an honest human experience while we can also experience joy and elation and abundance and all of these other things, I think it gives us a big gigantic break.
Wow. That's beautiful.
So
Big gigantic break.
a big
Go ahead.
gigantic break, darling. So
Mm.
what are you leaving with today from this conversation? What do you know?
That I'm gonna have you and Amy on my podcast. And
Yay!
and that I want to do whatever you need me to do to support you getting into Congress.
Oh,
And this is just going to be more about you. Hold on. And that I really, really love you. And I mean, seriously, I'm not just saying that. I really like everything. When we get off, I'll probably be like, "I'm so beautiful." I am. I'm a crier, and I
you.
see you now in a new dimensional way. I didn't have you in a box, but I see you now more dimensionally than I maybe have seen you before. And wow, you're like peacock beautiful. Do you
Oh,
understand?
yeah, I do.
All the feathers, bright and beautiful. And man, I just anything I can do to support you winning and as you move on this journey, because this actually is a journey of enlightenment, not just, I mean, clearly your own enlightenment, but also for us. Like you're
Mm,
changing how we can see people as we vote for them. I mean, you're a young woman, and yay, and an indigenous woman,
mm.
and get used to it, United States. Here she comes.
Thanks. Thank
That's
you.
my takeaway is you, if
Thank
I'm
you.
being honest.
Thanks. Mm.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of the thinnest veil and this whole thing, this whole journey. If
Thank
people
you.
want to know more about you and the work you do in the world, where can they find you?
So you'd have to use my first name, which is Melanie Dewberry, DEW, and berry like a strawberry.com, melaniedewberry.com, Facebook, Instagram. Love to hang out with you. Questions. Love to chat with anybody who wants to chat. As you can well see, I'm really good at chatting.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, love.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the Thinnest Veil podcast. As you know, I am Dr. Melissa Bird, and now you know I'm running for Congress. So uh, you can find out more about that at melissabirdforcongress.com. And in the meantime, come and find me over on socials at birdgirl1001. Thanks again, darling.